What is up, mortals? It is WASDemons here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 2 of What If Deku Became Daredevil. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So, let's begin. The night was cool. Glittery stars littered the sky, forming a sort of irregular pattern around the moon. It had a certain silence to it that was occasionally interrupted by the passing of cars up and down the street. Midoriya sat on his windowsill, observing the night with his senses. It was something he did regularly now. He used this to train his senses to accurately identify happenings in his surroundings. He could hear the cars all too well with their annoying horns. His skin felt the humidity in the air as the wind blew over his body, and the acrid smell of the trash just below as a cat rummaged through it. Yes, it was just like every other night. He was slowly getting better, applying everything he felt simultaneously with his radar sense, but it was ever so small progress. His head hurt daily from the influx of information his senses brought, and more often than not, he was left confused by it. The boy was about to call it a night, getting off of his windowsill just as he heard something, a cry of help from the alley opposite of his apartment. The voice was weak, with a husky tone that denoted a once strong youth. Midoriya wondered.
Just cough up the cash, old man. Also, all you made a lot of selling in the store. Why don't you share a bit with me?
The man said as he took steps closer to the old man.
Please, I need to get my niece a nice dress for her birthday tomorrow,
the old man pleaded with his assailant.
Well, what do you know? It just happens to be my birthday, so get me something first, will you?
The thief snickered. Midoriya had enough. He didn't need any more dialogue to know he had to be down there. He let himself out of his window, hanging from the sill. The freckled chap lowered himself to the next window just below his silently. Midoriya definitely wouldn't want his mother waking up and finding out what he was up to. Just as he was about to descend some more, he lost his footing and fell into the bags of garbage below, rudely startling the stray cat that was contentedly nibbling away at leftovers. Gotta be more careful, he said to himself. Luckily the trash had cushioned his fall without much sound. Midoriya stumbled out of the pile and charged down the road to the alley. He picked up the lid of a trash can racing down the street.
I ain't gonna ask a third time, old man. This blade's seen blood before. I ain't afraid to gut ya,
the man yelled angrily, raising his armed right hand. Midoriya ran down the alley. His radar sense gave him the shaky image in red, the assailant towering over the man. He smelled a strong influence of alcohol on the perpetrator. He had to be careful here. The boy hadn't received any formal hero training. He could get badly injured with any mistake.
Stop!
Midoriya yelled, taking the man's attention off his victim. Just before Midoriya rammed the lid held like a shield into the man, he bashed the lid into the man's left side. Hard. It was enough to knock the wind out of the man and send him crashing into the other side of the wall.
Are you alright, sir? Let's get out of here,
Midoriya said to the old man. He got him to his feet and tried to usher him out of the alley. The old man left, with Midoriya right behind him, but a strong hand pulled him back into the alley, right onto the ground.
Where you going, kid? You trying to run after hitting me? That's a crime,
the thief yelled.
Like the one you were about to commit?
Midoriya retorted, getting to his feet.
Hey, I was just asking him politely to give me some money, just like I'm going to ask you. And how'd you know what I asked him? You weren't here a minute ago,
the man said, not caring much for the details.
I don't have any money for you, so let me go,
Midoriya said, trying to sound confident.
Oh, it don't work like that. See, you let my catch go and hit me. I can't let you just walk away now, can I?
The man said in a threatening manner.
Then I guess I'll have to walk out myself.
Midoriya's confidence got a big boost. He had never been in real combat before using his abilities, but they were so astounding he was certain he could escape or even beat this guy.
Corky, I hate your type the most,
the thief yelled, lunging at Midoriya with his blade. He dragged the blade across the air horizontally in a crescent arc, aiming to strike Midoriya across the chest. Midoriya leapt backwards. He anticipated the attack, but not as well as he had thought. Though the blade missed his chest, he felt his shirt and skin tear under a sharp influence. His quirk? Midoriya wondered. The pain disoriented the boy and had him on his butt. His attacker didn't let up. He rushed in closer with his blade aimed to the sky to slash it down on the boy.
Maybe I'll take those fancy glasses of yours afterwards,
he joked with his blade aimed high. Midoriya choked. Under the pressure of an actual battle, all his newly acquired skills meant nothing. His body froze up at the thought of the blade coming down on him, and his radar sense didn't make the scene look any better. Alright, so before we get back into the video, I'd like to tell you all about our sponsor for today, Honey. Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, and Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, Kohi's, wherever you shop. It's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out these major sites is click that little orange button and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now, anytime you check out Honey, it will scan the entire internet, and if there's not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible, and there is literally not one available on the internet. If you install Honey right now, you can save about $50 to $100 on your shopping doing nothing. There's literally no reason not to install Honey. It just takes 2 clicks. 10 million people use it, 100,000 5-star reviews. Unless you hate money, you should install Honey.
Ah!
The assailant cried as he flew over Midoriya's head and landed on the concrete like a dropped sack, motionless. He wasn't dead? That was the first thought that came to Midoriya's head before he sensed the presence of the person who had saved him. This man was a tower. Huge. He almost mistook him for a giant. He smelled of drugs. Midoriya couldn't tell which.
Taking his weapon away was the first thing you should have done, kiddo,
the man said with a gruff voice. Was he a hero? Midoriya wondered. That was the only explanation to why he could dispatch the knife thief with ease.
You're blind, aren't you?
Midoriya's savior said quite rudely. Midoriya felt a twinge of pain. Being referred to as blind felt like a limiter to his capabilities. Whenever he heard the word, it felt like he couldn't do what others did since he couldn't see through his eyes. But Midoriya reminded himself that this man didn't know that even without his eyes, he was better than most. Yes, how do you know and why do you ask? Midoriya replied.
Don't seem blind to me considering you knew how he was going to attack. You're Midoriya, aren't you? Someone told me about you. I was going to come find you tomorrow, but luckily you found me first, it seems.
The man said, letting out a boisterous laugh that hurt the boy's ears. Was this the person Eraserhead had spoken of? The person who could help him? Midoriya had restless days over the course of a week since his encounter with Eraserhead. Occasionally he would check his door at the slightest sound, wondering when he would meet this person. He had somewhat given up, or rather forgotten altogether as days went by. You're the hero? Midoriya asked, his voice climbing a note high as he did his best to contain his excitement.
Hero? Who said anything about being a hero? I'm Knuckle Duster, the guy who makes all the bad guys shiver in their boots.
Knuckle Duster fiddled with his pockets and brought out a small box. A phone? Midoriya guessed? Still battling with identifying things. The man brought out a small stick and lit it, puffing out wisps of smoke. The cigarette made Izuku cough irritably. Knuckle Duster didn't seem to care much. Midoriya knew a lot of heroes, but none with the name Knuckle Duster. The man himself didn't recognize himself as a hero. The boy could only think of one thing he'd heard about them before. Vigilantes. You're a vigilante! A bad guy! Midoriya exclaimed, becoming apprehensive of the man before him.
Huh? Bad guy? Whoever told you that? Listen up, kiddo. I've probably taken down more criminals than most of your favorite heroes. Just because I don't have a shiny license doesn't mean I ain't one of the good guys.
Knuckle Duster blew a cloud of smoke into Midoriya's face as he replied, much to the boy's disdain. Midoriya had always known the heroes to identify vigilantes as one of the bad guys due to their unruly use of quirks, without any formal acknowledgement as heroes. If Aizawa had sent this man to him, it meant that he was a good guy. Or at least he figured he was. Oh, my bad then. So when can I start training with you? Midoriya asked the man.
I don't know. You're tinier than I expected. I don't think you'd survive my drills,
Knuckle Duster said with a hint of doubt in his voice. I can do it! I can take anything you throw at me! Midoriya sharply retorted, determined to be accepted as a hero.
Ha! Bet you couldn't even take a punch, Knuckle Duster mocked.
Why take one when you can dodge it? Midoriya wittily followed up. He had to show Knuckle Duster he was absolutely certain he could keep up.
I like your guts. Hope they'll be intact after I'm done with you. Luckily, I'm going to be in Musutafu for some time investigating, so I got a few months to whip you up to shape. I'll come get you tomorrow. Be ready, Knuckle Duster said.
He walked towards the fainted criminal, picked him up and over his shoulder, and walked out of the alley.
Better get home before your folk ask questions, and let them know you'll be hanging out with me,
Knuckle Duster said, dumping the dead weight on the hard asphalt road and taking his exit. The last thing he said brought a realization to Midoriya. His mom would never let him go out. How was he going to leave the house? That was quite the food for his thoughts as he hurried back to his window. He climbed to his windowsill with difficulty and threw himself over it. Midoriya fell with a thud on his hard floor. That was quite hard and loud. Did Mom hear? She did. He heard a disruption in her breathing. Inko sharply inhaled. The noise was loud enough to wake her from her light sleep. Midoriya rushed into bed quickly. He hadn't noticed it earlier, but he had bloodstains on his torn shirt, courtesy of the villain's blade earlier. She definitely can't be allowed to see that, he murmured to himself, wrapping up tight in his sheets. Her footsteps led all the way up to his room. She tried to make them as quiet as possible, but that wouldn't hide them from him. She gripped his door handle and hesitated for a minute before she twisted it and pushed the door open. Izuku? Yes, Mom? Midoriya replied to his mother, who called his name ever so softly. There was no use pretending he was asleep with the ruckus he'd just caused. But he'd do well to hide the blood-stained shirt. Luckily, she couldn't see it in the dark that covered his room. I heard a bit of a noise and thought I'd check up on you. Looks like you're fine. So, I've been thinking, and I've decided to get a job. We'll need a lot more money than we have now to get medications and regular checkups. You've been able to take care of yourself around the house quite well, so I'll be going out for at least 8 hours a day. Don't worry, I'll have breakfast and lunch down for you, and I'll be back before dinner. Inko waited to see what her son's reaction would be. It was a necessary step she had to take out of her comfort zone to take care of him. She just needed to know that he could handle himself. Oh, I see. It's fine then, Mom. I can take care of myself. Thank you for everything you're doing for me, Midoriya replied, trying to sound as solemn and grateful as he could, but he couldn't contain his excitement. This meant he could slip out of the house to train with Knuckle Duster and get back just in time before dinner. A perfect scenario had just presented itself. You know I'd do anything for you, Izuku. Now get some rest. There's still some hours before daylight. I start work tomorrow, his mom said, closing the door and returning to her room. True to what she had said earlier, Izuku's mom got up at the break of dawn, prepared breakfast, and went off, leaving Midoriya to his vices. The boy got himself ready, ate his breakfast, showered, packed up his lunch, and fitted himself in a comfortable green tracksuit. Then he waited. It was almost midday. Knuckle Duster was late. Or was he? He had never really specified what time he would arrive, nor did he even know where Midoriya lived exactly. The boy hoped Aizawa had relayed the information to him. It was just past 12 when he heard a strong yet sluggish knock at the door. Midoriya opened the door and felt the presence of the man he met yesterday. That same scent of his cigarettes lingered in his breath. You're late, Midoriya said crossly.
Better late than never, kiddo. Your folks in? Because we're off about now,
Knuckle Duster replied, taking a look into the boy's home to see if anyone besides him was in. No, my mom went out. She said I could go with you, so let's go, Midoriya lied. He knew grown-ups well. If he said his mom wouldn't be too keen with him doing this, Knuckle Duster might back out of training him altogether.
Okay, let's roll out,
Knuckle Duster said, like they were in the military, stomping out of the building with Midoriya in tow. Izuku took the time to absorb his surroundings. The route they took, how the scents around there distinguished themselves, the texture of the buildings around the particular location where they were. His teacher said this was the only time he was escorting him to his place. Knuckle Duster said it was training for him to get here by himself, but Midoriya just thought he was lazy. Finally, they arrived at the location. Knuckle Duster rolled a large gate open, and Midoriya stepped inside. The space inside felt large, from the lag of the echoes of his footsteps off the empty walls around the building. He could tell it was probably an abandoned storehouse, given the size. While Midoriya was occupied with the size of the building, he received a thunderous blow to the back that sent him crashing to the ground, spilling his lunch all over the place. "What the heck?" Midoriya yelled. It felt like his spine almost exploded from the impact.
Huh! Thought you could dodge one. Well, I gotta know what I'm working with. Let's see your capabilities and how long you can last. Hell begins right now, boy!
Knuckle Duster yelled, taking a stance, his powerful voice giving loud reverberations off the walls. And that's the end of the episode. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye and have a divine day!